Hi, we're the Huge Movie Fanatics here to do a review of Titanic.
I had hoped and figured that you'd see it in 3D.
I just didn't get a chance.
It doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's the same movie, just gives you a headache. The problem with 3D with such a long movie, man, is it's just like by the time you're.
I didn't have a problem.
Really?
With, I've never had a problem with 3D.
I did with Avengers. I was like this after the fact. But anyway, Titanic. His favorite director, right?
Yeah,
James
favorite
Cameron's
director,
your favorite
James
director.
Cameron.
I probably know how many stars you give it as you give everything.
Everything he's done, with the exception of Prana.
Prana 2.
Yeah, I've given 4 stars.
stars.
So easy 4-star review. This is fantastic. I was so excited to see him win an Academy Award because, goddammit, he finally did it.
Like it matters.
And then he had a fantastic script. He recontextualized the events of the Titanic, reenacting the Titanic as it had never been done before on screen in this hyper-realistic way, which was phenomenal to see. Incredible performances by Kate Winslet. Oh my God, she's amazing. And Leonardo DiCaprio, who is equally amazing. Great side actors. Set pieces were just astounding. The digital at the time and even now holds up insanely well. It's wow. This is just one of those wow kind of movies. People don't like it a lot because it was just so like overplayed in the sense that like you couldn't not like say that 1997 and 1998 were the year of Titanic. Like there was a year-long period there where everything was Titanic. The Billboard charts were Titanic. CDs, movies, everything. They went on Titanic tours with pieces of the ship that even came here. And I like the song. I'm gonna say Celine Dion did a great job with that song. It's probably one of 2 songs of hers that I like. But yeah, I think this is just a great movie. I watch it repeatedly. The last, I'd say, 15 minutes are probably my favorite 15 minutes out of any James Cameron movie. It's just exceptional.
Where does the last 15 minutes start?
When she's on the plank and he's trying to get up, but it starts tipping.
Okay.
So then, the freezing, and then how she sort of passes, spoilers I guess, passes in her sleep, and then you can follow her down into the Titanic's depths one more time, and then it begins filled with life anew and all that kind of stuff, and that's just absolutely epic. This is such an astounding movie at the time, and you know what, it still holds up. I watch it from time to time, even despite its really long length, but you know, it never gets slow for me. It's never boring. It's all good, folks. So I'm gonna pass it off to you for a slightly different review.
You know, at the time I was very, very excited. I wouldn't say I was ridiculously interested in the Titanic as an event, but I was very excited to see one, you know, the great, huge. I think it was the most expensive movie ever made, because he does that except for True Lies. Like T2, I think at the time was the most expensive movie ever made. I didn't hear anything about True Lies. I don't think that was. But then Titanic, usually, you know, for a while he's, you know, everything he does is most expensive. So I was excited to see it, very excited to see it, because I was a big fan. Well, I am a big fan of James Cameron, and I was excited to see what he did with what he's going to do with it, and also just with that, at the time, current visual effects and what, you know, those were going to bring into play. Everyone had heard that they built you know, a fairly big portion of it in wherever, Mexico or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Something like that. And they've been shooting on that, and it's exciting to be able to see a big, huge set and all that stuff redesigned. And I was just, this is one of my very rare exceptions, kind of like Alien for you. You know, how you regard Alien. Where Titanic it might be the only exception that I can think of where I admit it's a very competent movie, but I have problems with, like I say, I guess the problems are just with the love story, which, you know, I'm not necessarily a big love story person anyway.
I am, so there you
go.
go.
Well, that kind of would explain why you like it. Yeah, I'm not a big love story person, and My problem with the love story in Titanic is the fact that, you know, I think I'm conflicted. I'm going to tell you the two sides of it, which is, from one aspect, having a very emotional situation on this ship, which is going to become an emotional situation unto itself, in theory, and probably does. It does kind of pull you in more to the emotional event of the sinking. It would, it should, and probably does for a lot of people, pull you into the emotional event more so of the sinking. But at the same time, I felt the direction I come from, and I can understand that for people. I can understand why it does that for people. But for me, it's more like you have this event, this Titanic event, which, and actually, I'm not going to do that. For me, you have this love story. You have this, Jack and Rose, right? It's this love story, this grandiose love story, which for a love story is kind of a good story. The rich woman and the whatever, and the fact that he's not worthless. That they can.
She didn't share the idea.
That's why.
Yeah.
Her ideals didn't fit with that.
Yeah.
I think the best two shots in Titanic, or 3 shots, for me actually, is so telling, is when she looks over and sees that woman make her little girl sit up.
Yeah.
That for me is probably the best. It just says so much about everything. Even it's timeless, and I think that little bit says so much about, unfortunately, how society and people can be. So what I was getting back to is, from my point of view, you have this movie, this Jack and Rose love story. And oh, by the way, it happens to take place on this ship that sunk. And in a lot of ways, that's how I feel about the movie. That's how the movie comes across to me, where it's almost like the movie cares almost more about Jack and Rose than it cares about the Titanic sinking. And that's to me kind of what it feels like. And it's like, how dare you? You're making a movie about the Titanic. And granted, it did give it, let's face it, it covered, along with, and your argument would probably be exactly what I'm going to say, along with the Jack and Rose thing, it covered all of the vital facts that are, hopefully reported by eyewitnesses and all this shit that are supposedly known about. It didn't skimp on any of the facts of the Titanic events. So, in a way, my argument is not valid and valid at the same time. Where it's like, yeah, I can see people can understand my point of view, and no, they can't. You're really quiet. What do you got to say?
Well, the argument that I've heard against the movie, and the reason why he centered around Jack and Rose, is if you make a movie about the Titanic and just about the Titanic, and the Titanic, that's it. Well, everybody knows how that movie's going to end. People don't know how Jack and Rose are going to be at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So if you focus it on Jack and Rose, then it has something to draw you in all the way to the end. You're not going to step out like, well, okay, they're in love. Once the Titanic starts sinking, you're like, well, where is this going to go? Why is he not there? Did he make it off and they just couldn't be together? Or did they make it off, they lived happily, but why is there some deep, dark story that she's hiding from everybody? So much so that her daughter didn't even know she was on the Titanic. And all that kind of stuff. Like, it pulls you in right there automatically, more so than another great movie like A Night to Remember, or any other sort of like take on the Titanic, where it's like, the Titanic sinks, I know this, and at a certain point in almost any historical Titanic movie, you're just like, let's just jump to the sinking, like, I want to see how they do it. Because there is no emotional connectivity.
Uh-huh.
The emotional connectivity makes you want to see everything that this movie has to offer.
Yeah.
For me, anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm a fan of love stories. Terminator 2 is my second favorite movie of all, Terminator 1 is my second favorite movie of all time.
Okay. That's good to know, and it did another reveal, folks.
Yeah, and that movie was about two people who've never met before, very different kind of people who run off, and they have this beautiful love story, shockingly beautiful love story for an action thriller that you sort of see mirrored in some respects a little bit in Titanic. It was sort of a similar type of story. That's what I like about James Cameron, is he always has some form of emotional love story that glues his movies together. Aliens had it with the mother and daughter. Terminator had it with Kyle and Sarah. The Abyss, I think that's his best love story, is in the Abyss. Then T2 was the boy in the Terminator and the boy and the mom. And then
True Lies, what?
True Lies was the husband and wife who were sort of estranged, and their love for their daughter, who also, like, the three people were just in the same house, but they weren't a family. And you see by the end of the movie how that those three people become family.
Daddy will catch you! Sorry, I just saw him on
just
the
done
plane.
with just done with Arnold Schwarzenegger, so it sounded a little goofy. But like all of his movies have that sort of connection, and Jack and Rose is that for this. And it's those emotional connections, those love stories, those bonds that make you want to see to the end of that movie. If you don't like love stories, you're not going to like those this movie because this is the main focus. Whereas in the other ones, they had action to support the love story.
I guess that's my problem with it. Is it seems like 75%. Well, that's because it is love story.
Yeah. I mean, the action is true to life action, and it's not like you're getting Michael Bay. Have you seen the recut Titanic experience? They're promoting Titanic in 4D. It's a joke.
Yeah.
They're like, now with George Lucas as supervisor, and it has like stormtroopers being the ones to marshal the people off into the boat. So like, no. And then they say produced also by Michael Bay, and you're seeing every time like somebody falls into the water and a big explosion happens, and then they say, and also J.J. Abrams, and then you see lens flares all over the screen, so much so that like they have the actual shot of Kate Winslet nude, but the lens flare is covering her entire body. It's great. Maybe I'll send that to you, or I'll post it in a link underneath.
Okay.
But like, I don't know. Remember the action is true to life action. You're not getting explosions. You're not getting like it's more atmospheric action, and so it's not as satisfying as something like Terminator 2 with the Liquid Metal Man versus the Metal Man fighting, or even Avatar or something like that. So I mean, like it's not out of this world kind of action. So even the James Cameron aspect of the movie isn't with his action isn't there because it's true to life.
Okay.
So I think that's also a lot of people have a problem with that because they're so used to like, let's see some Michael Bay up in this shit and then explosions everywhere. But I don't know. That's my take. The Earth is pouring.
It's raining now.
Yeah.
So I give it 2.5 stars. Too much love for me.
Easy.
It's a wonderful accomplishment, but it's like I say, it's that. Yeah, it's just my tastes. My tastes don't. Whatever. There's no doubt about it that it's very confident. James Cameron's the man. So there you go. Titanic. Have a good one.
One last thing. Have you seen that there's a Titanic 2?
Yeah, you mentioned that, actually.
Yeah, and it's free streaming on Netflix. I'm going to give it a go. Next time we have reviews, I will have a review for Titanic 2 for you folks.
What's it about? You said you tell me the premise.
It takes place 100 years to the day later.
Which has just happened.
Yeah, which just happened, actually. So it takes place basically a couple weeks ago. And the Titanic has been rebuilt, and it's going on its second maiden voyage when suddenly catastrophe strikes.
Okay.
And the Titanic sinks, and so it's
I thought that
Titanic in modern day.
I thought you said there was some other cool twist.
I can't remember anymore.
Okay.
Like so,
you said before some cool twist. It wasn't on camera.
it looks so laughably bad. I'm excited to see it. I think it's getting a whopping half star on Netflix, so this will be exciting.
Okay.
So, yeah, Titanic 2 coming at you sometime in the next couple of weeks.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for watching.